Hey, congrats on completing Unit 2. Welcome to Unit 3. My name is Nathan. I'm going to be your instructor throughout all of this unit, and we're talking about motorcycle familiarization. And what that means is that we're covering everything from primary controls, what your switches do, how to turn it on, how to mount, dismount, all that, all the way to swerving, getting it out in the parking lot and practicing out in the parking lot. And as you can see, we're in the garage right now, which is a perfect spot to get familiar with just the controls. And when we get to the point where we're going to turn it on and go for a ride, we're going to gear up and then head out there. So go ahead and come on over. We're going to talk about the motorcycle, what everything does. We're going to start from the right-hand side where your foot goes, work our way up and over, and then we're going to end over here on your left side where your other foot goes. But everything in between, we're going to go ahead and cover that. So every limb has a purpose and has a job to do. So down here, on the bottom right of your motorcycle, this is where your foot's going to go. You keep the toe box, right, where the balls of your feet are, right here. And then just in front of that, this is the brake. Well, this is one of them. This is your rear brake. Now, this is responsible for about 20 to 30% of your braking power, depending on situation and circumstance. But generally speaking, 20 to 30% of your braking power is going to be done here. Now, that's pretty much it for your bottom right foot. Now we're going to move up to the right hand. Coming up from the right foot to the right hand. This is the equivalent of the gas pedal to a car. This is your throttle. So this tube right here that you can twist, that's going to give power to your engine. This chrome piece right here, that's your brake lever. Now, separate from your back brake on the foot, this is going to be the front brake. So if you're following along so far, everything on the right side of the bike has been either to go or to stop going. So again, that is our front brake. Now, over here to switches, this is going to apply to most modern bikes. Now, this is a Yamaha, it's a Japanese company. Most of the other Japanese companies out there do the same style of switches up here on the front. If you get a Harley, it might be a little different, but you might need to use your imagination if you've got a bike that's a little different than this. But as standard, you've got a big red switch. This is going to be your engine shutoff switch. Down is going to allow your motorcycle to operate. Up is going to turn off power or kill power to your engine, and that's why some people call it a kill switch. So ignoring this button here, we've got the big red button, and then you've got your ignition. So this ignition button right here, that is the equivalent of turning your key in the car to on and then turning it a little farther, and that's what turns your engine over. This button is what turns over your engine here. So to make sure that it actually turns on, you have to turn that on, and then you can turn your engine on. And that about does it for the right-hand side here. We're gonna move over to the left hand real quick. And now that we're on the left side, this one doesn't twist, this is just a handlebar. Now as far as buttons go, you've got hazards. Your bike may or may not have that button there, but that will just signal all of your lights to turn on simultaneously. Most bikes nowadays are going to have a high beam and a low beam for your headlights. You got your turn signals, left, right, and then you push it in the middle, push it straight forward to turn it off. Unless you've got a bike that's got a turn sensor and can auto turn off your turn signals, most bikes don't have that. So when you get your motorcycle, just assume it's a left on, right on, and then it's going to stay blinking until you press the button in the middle to turn them off manually. And then just below that, you've got your horn. Some manufacturers have opted to put the horn above the turn signals. And this is where getting familiar with your own specific bike is important, because every bike, these buttons are laid out slightly different. So just start pressing buttons and see what happens. Now back to primary controls over here, we've got our clutch. So this is a manual transmission. So in order to shift gears, you need to pull in this clutch. And that's where that's at. And that wraps up the handlebars. We're gonna move back down to the left foot because there's a job there too. All right, now that we're down here, this is where your foot's gonna go. So same as the right side, it's gonna look like this. Usually it's got, either it's just a metal peg sticking out, or it's like this, it's got that rubber piece on there to help for comfort. But this, instead of being a brake where you push down, this is where you shift gears up and down. So if you're familiar with a manual transmission, you've got neutral right in the middle, and you can kind of just go to whatever gear you want. You got first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. And you can do things like first to third jumps or second to fourth jumps. On a motorcycle, they're sequential. So you have to go in order, and they put neutral in between first and second. So if you were to look at a chart, it's going to look like first gear on the bottom, then neutral, then second, third, fourth, and fifth. And then if you have a sixth gear, there's a sixth gear up on top. Later on in this unit, we're going to revisit the shifter and explain how to use it properly. But for now, we're going to go back to the top, do an overview to kind of understand what's going on with this bike. So like I said, while your bike's in your garage, you've got all the time in the world to just play with it. But as far as controls go, you've got primary and secondary controls. And to make it even more concise, primary controls are just anything that can make your bike go and stop. So your rear brake, your front brake, your throttle, your clutch, and your shifter. So basically, if you're going to accelerate or decelerate or shift gears, any mechanism that's involved in those processes is going to be a primary control. For example, even your handlebars. The bars themselves are considered primary control sometimes because steering requires that. So moving your bike, those are primary. Everything else, that's going to be secondary.